modal verbs are verbs that we use to specify the moods. Yeah, so these are modal verbs. For example, well, modal verbs mean that they are gonna be auxiliary verbs. Yeah, because all the time you're gonna need another verb. For example, when I say, if I say, I can is a modal verb. If I say I can in the school, I can in the school, I am saying nothing. I can what? Yeah. So it means that if I use the modal verb, I'm gonna use another verb. And that other verb is gonna be in the base form. Yeah. For example, may I say, I can study in the school. Yeah. We have the verb study. I can study. I can study in the school. Yeah. I can meet my friends in the school. I can meet is the verb. I can meet my friends in the school. Yep. I can eat in the school. If there is a cafeteria, I can eat in the school. So as you can see, we use the modal verbs with another verb. All the verbs, yeah? Modal verbs are auxiliary verbs. So in this case, we're gonna talk just about the modal verbs that talk about something that is allowed, yeah? Something that is allowed, permitted, yeah? Something that is prohibited, about prohibitions, about obligations, and about not necessary things. So these are modal verbs that we use for rules, to establish rules, yeah? And we won't see all the modal verbs because there are many. We're gonna see just the modal verb that is gonna be for something allowed. We're gonna use the modal verb can. Yeah, the modal verb can, the modal verb can is gonna be used for something that is allowed. Yeah, for example, I can, as I told you, yeah, I can use my cell phone in the school. Yeah, nowadays it's possible. Well, nowadays we have to use cell phone because we are not in the school, we are learning at home. Yeah, but for example, when we have face-to-face lessons, when we are in the classroom, when we are in the school, in my class you can use your cell phone because we work with Kahoot games, so you have to use it. You are allowed to use the cell phone. So I can use my cell phone in the school. I can eat in the school. We have the subject I can, you can, we can, they can, you can. And guess what? The beautiful thing about most modal verbs, not all of them, I'm gonna tell you which one is different according with the subject. But most of the modal verbs have the same form for I, you, we, they, for any subject, he, she, and it. So in this case, he, she, and it también also is used can. Yeah. I can, you can, we can, they can, you can, he can, she can, it can. Yeah. But it can something. So we use the word can to talk about something that is allowed. Yeah. About permissions, to talk about ability. For example, if you can play the piano, if you can play the guitar, so that is an ability. Yeah. So we use the verb can. We're gonna use the verb for prohibitions. We're gonna use can in negative. Can't. So we have can. Yeah. That's affirmative, negative. Can, can't. Then for prohibitions, we also use the verb mustn't. That's negative, the must, yeah. And it's the same for the subject. Mustn't. Yeah. Then we're gonna use a verb for obligations. We can use two verbs to talk about obligations. We can use the verb must, and it's the same. Yeah. And we are gonna use also the verb have to, but the verb have to be conjugated according with the subject. That is the only modal verb the change. It changes according with the subject. So, if you remember, the present simple form is have and has. We're gonna use have for I, you, we, and they, and you for plural. And you're gonna use has. Yeah, we have, and we have has for he, she, and it. Yeah, and you're gonna use the modal verb have, has when we talk about obligation, but it has to be complemented with the preposition to. Yeah, so I have to, we have to, they have to. Yeah, she has to, it has to. Yeah, and then the base form of my verb. So in this case we have has to, and then we have not necessary. We have to use the negative of have to is gonna be used for not necessary things. It means optional things. It's not an obligation, it's not a prohibition, it's something optional. Yeah. For example, you don't have to, yeah, you don't have to use backpack in the school. So you don't have to use backpack in the school. It's not an obligation. If you want to use a backpack, you can use. Yeah, it's something that is not necessary. If you think that you can carry your books, your notebooks, just on your hands, it's fine. If you want to use backpack, it's also fine. So not necessary. In that case, have to is for obligations. Has to. But if we use the negative form or have to, it's not. Sometimes we confuse that if you say have to is obligation, if I write the negative, it means that it's a prohibition. No. Negative form have to is going to be used for optional thing, for something that is not necessary. Yep. And also the conjugation, and this is present simple, have to and has to, we are going to use the auxiliary verb for present simple. In this case is don't, believe it or right, yeah, don't have to, I don't have to, yeah, or doesn't, you remember present simple, when we have the auxiliary, don't or doesn't, we use the main verb in the base form, doesn't have to, yeah. And that are the modal verbs that we use for rules. Yeah. There is another verb that we are going to review later. It's about the verb should. Should, but we have seen should. Yeah, we're going to read should. Should is a verb that we are going to use to give an advice. Yeah. For example, if you say, I have a headache, you should take an aspirin. It's an advice. Yeah. You should go to the doctor. That is an advice. Something that you should do. Yeah. It's not an obligation. Okay, I'm gonna write some examples about them. So as I told you, we are gonna use the verb can to talk about something that is allowed. For example, I can. Yeah. If we talk now about pandemic, yeah. What do we have allowed? I can. Yeah. I can go out when it's necessary. I can go out when it's necessary. That are the healthy rules. We can go out, but just if it is necessary. If it is not necessary, please don't go out. Yeah. So I can go out when it's necessary. I'm going to write with the subject we, because this is a rule for everybody. Yeah. We can go out when it's necessary. Just on that case. Prohibitions. What do we have prohibited now? Yeah. So we cannot. Well, this is how we write cannot for formal writing. Formal writing. So it means that if you are gonna writing, if you are writing a letter that is for your an academical purpose, you have to use cannot together. But most of the time we use this verb just for speaking. In that case, The informal writing is with the contraction can't. We can't, yeah. Something that is prohibited, yeah. We can't meet, or we can have meetings. We can have meetings. So meetings is a noun. We can have meetings. No podemos tener reuniones. Or also you can use the verb meet. No nos podemos reunir. We can meet in crowded places. So if there are a lot of people, we can meet. Yeah, that is prohibition. Yeah. For example, for many of the stores, we can enter with our covering mask. Yeah, we can enter with our covering mask. So it's an obligation. If we go out, okay, what do we say that is for obligation? So we say can't is for permissions, can't is for prohibitions, also mustn't is for prohibitions, yeah. We mustn't. We mustn't meet. We mustn't meet in crowded places, yeah. What else? Something prohibited. What else do we have prohibited? We mustn't. Let me see that we mustn't smoke in the school, for example. That's it. Because I don't remember another example about the pandemic. Prohibition things. Okay, obligation. For obligations, we can use have to or must. The most common is have to. Yeah, but I'm gonna read the example with must and have to. I'm gonna be used for obligation. So I'm gonna use color black. Yeah, we have to use covering mask. We have to use a mask. Yeah, we have to use covering mask. So it's an obligation. If we go out, we have to use covering mask. Yeah. Another obligation. We must stay at home. We must stay at home. That's another obligation. Yeah. Another one, we must study online. We must study online. Something that I don't like a lot also. Yeah. But we must do something. Then something that is not necessary is optional. Yeah. It's not an obligation, but it's optional. For example, sometimes there are people who go out and use also gloves. Yeah, that is optional. Yeah, it's a good option if you think about it. Yeah, but it's not an obligation. The obligation is the covering mask. If you go to a store and you don't have your covering mask, you can enter to the store. Yeah, something not necessary, but if you wanna use, it's good. If you don't wanna use, it's also good. Yeah. So you don't have. I'm gonna write with he. Okay, he. Okay, he doesn't have to use gloves. Yeah. Obviously, if you are a doctor, but doctors have to use gloves when they enter to a surgery. Yeah, gloves. Yeah. But if you are not a doctor, you are at your home and you want to go out, it's not necessary to use yeah, to use gloves. But if you do, there is no trouble, yeah. So he doesn't have to use gloves. I write with he because you have to remember that the grammar is gonna change with has and doesn't have to, yeah. For example, in that case, if I wanna say he with can, mustn't, it doesn't matter. We can go out when it's necessary. You can go out when it's necessary. He can go out when it is necessary. She can go out when it is necessary. So, no change. It's the same for all the subjects. With the verb can't or mustn't, it's also the same for all the subjects. So, we can meet in crowded places. We mustn't smoke in the school. Yeah. We can say she can meet in crowded places. She mustn't smoke in the school. So it's the same form. But if we use the modal verb have to, when we use have to, affirmative sentence to talk about obligation, or don't or doesn't have to talk about not necessary things, we have to pay attention on the subject. So my subject is we. So we have to use covering mask. So if your mom is going to go out, she has to use covering mask. Yeah. So in that case, that's if we talk about she, he, or it, we have to use the modal verb has to. So if a relative is going to go out, that person has to use a covering mask. Yeah. The modal verb must is the same for all the subjects. We must stay at home. We must study online, and that's it. So, if you can see the grammar, it's the same for all the subjects. We use subject, we use the modal verb, and as I told you at the beginning, when we have the modal verb is an auxiliary, we are gonna use the main verb in the base form. Base form, that is the main verb, and then we have the complement. Yeah, that is affirmative sentence. For negative sentence, we use, if it's a verb can or must, we use the negative word not. So we have subject, negative word, modal verb, the word not, and then we have the verb in the base form. Base form, that is meet, smoke, that is my verb in the base form. Yeah. And then we have the complement. Then that is for negative. For affirmative, subject, modal verb, base form, complement. For negative, subject, modal verb, word not, base form, and complement. Yeah. And then we have the modal verb have to. Have to is gonna work as present simple. We have reviewed the grammar about present simple, but if you don't remember, we have here the example. We have to, so we have subject, the verb in present, the other verb in the base form, and the complement. Yeah. For negatives, we have the subject, yeah, the subject, and then we have the negative in present, that is going to be the auxiliary do, auxiliary don't or doesn't. And then we have the verb in the base form, don't have to, doesn't have to, and then the main verb in the base form. Yeah. We can go out when it's necessary, that is allowed, permission. If you have to go out, you can go out. But please take care of you. Use your mask face, yeah, your covering mask. Prohibition, we can meet in crowded place. If there are a lot of people, don't meet, yeah, don't meet there, and don't go out. We mustn't smoke in the school. We mustn't smoke in closed spaces, yeah. Then we have to use covering mask. We must stay at home, yeah. We must stay is the main verb. We must stay at home. We must, modal verb, study, the verb in the base form. We must study online. He doesn't have to use gloves. Yeah. So this is the grammar that we're gonna talk about modal verbs for rules. If you have any question now, let me know on WhatsApp. Now you have a homework that is about writing some sentences in Spanish. Next week we're gonna change that using this grammar. Yeah. Thank you for watching and have a great week.